Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing a review for Action Comics issue 1000. Of course, I wanted to do an individual review for this one. It's a huge comic, not just for DC Comics, but in comics in general. Superman's one of the biggest, and is probably the biggest superhero ever. Started this whole entire superhero genre. He's a very important character, and this is an important comic because it is the first comic to ever hit 1000. So let's see if this comic is worth its $8 price tag, if you could see that. Now talking about the cover first, because there were a lot of covers that came out for this. I had to get the all red variant because this is how I started out with comics, reading this type of Silver Age comic with Superman from, you know, the 50s, 60s. So this is how I not just got into Superman's character, but again, comics is what my dad used to read to me. So very nostalgic. I wanted to get this one. I know some people are getting like all the variants or a couple of them. For me, I just wanted to get the one. And there was a Supergirl variant, at least from the main covers. I probably would have gotten one, but I didn't personally see any. There probably is. I didn't see it on the shelf. So let's get started though and talk about this issue. So there's a lot of stories. You can see how many stories are in this with the cover here. I guess there's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like about 9 or 10 stories in here. So a lot of prolific writers and artists on this one. You got Scott Snyder, Tom King, of course Dan Jurgens, who's been writing Action Comics. You have Peter J. Tomasi, who's been writing Superman. So a lot of people, but of course that ending story that we've all been waiting for is Brian Michael Bendis' take on Superman. So just to say the stories that I enjoyed the most here was definitely the first one, just celebrating Superman as there's this, you know, Superman Day. Everyone's saying why they like Superman. You see it from the superhero community, how Lois tries to keep everything calm. It was a very cute story. I believe that was the Dan Jurgens story. That was definitely one of my favorites. And I also liked the Vandal Savage one. I think it was a little lengthy at times, but I enjoyed what it stood for, to seeing what Superman was throughout the times and how he's changed and what he stands for. But I have to say my favorite one, it was definitely a smaller one, was Superman saving this girl, and she pretty much kind of saves herself. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. Well, you know, she's confident and whatever. She doesn't save herself. I was looking at the thing. But, you know, Superman says, hey, you should, like, be a police officer or something. And she's like, yeah, my dad always says that. So it shows how Superman inspires others. I believe, yeah, this is Brad Metzler who wrote that one, who did Identity Crisis, which was one of my favorite events. And just beautiful artwork there. But it just shows how Superman can change someone's life. And I thought, honestly, out of all the stories, that was the strongest. Now, going into Brian Michael Bendis' story, which again was a huge one, just to see what his take would be on Superman, he introduces a new villain here who, you know, supposedly had destroyed Krypton, and that's kind of how the issue ends. It's cool that we got a little Supergirl, because we know she's going to be in the series, which I'm thankful for, and we'll see what that means. It's just, and supposedly he promised Jor-el that he would destroy Krypton. So in Man of Steel, we're going to learn more about that, because that's going to show the history in Brian Michael Bendis' view of Superman. And it definitely had a hook for me. It was definitely more action-packed, though, in the beginning. I was like, oh, alright, don't know about the villain yet, but definitely was hooked by the end. So, what did I think of the overall book, though? You know, this is a little harder. I am more of a middle ground Superman fan. I appreciate the character, but he's never been a fan favorite for me. As somebody who's more of, again, definitely not a neutral Superman fan, because I still like the character. I just don't love Superman. He's not, like, part of my fandom. I like Supergirl and Connor a bit more in the Superman family. But saying that, I think this is a very important book to read, obviously, and every story really hits the points of why this character is special, why he's kind of stood the test of time, and what this character has gone through. But I also don't love this format of comics. I'm not a big fan of the short story format, because you have one awesome story and then one, oh, I wasn't interested in that, and then another story is like, oh, I didn't really like that one either. So it's really, it could be a hit and miss, and that's why I don't love, again, this type of comic, even though I understand why they have to do it for an anniversary special to get everyone's voices in here, and I think this is better than some other ones I've seen where I'm like, oh, I kind of only liked one story in there. I definitely liked more than one, but there are times where I'm like, alright, let's see what's going on next. It definitely is a longer read, especially if you're not into some of the storylines. Like some of them I genuinely is like, oh, okay, I wasn't into that one. And again, that kind of took me out of the story. And also, even some of the stories that were great, I feel like were a bit too long, which is weird because these are short stories. But like the Dan Jurgens story, I really enjoyed it, but how many people had to go on stage to talk about Superman? I was like, all right, like, you know, I felt like that was a little bit, it was a bit too long for me, and it took me out of the story until we got to, oh, okay, cool, Wonder Woman celebrating Superman, you know, those key moments. So I kind of wish they took out maybe 2 or 3 interviews out of that, and I think that would have been a neater and stronger story. And that happened a couple of times where I feel like if they cut out 2 or 3 pages, it would have been a stronger story. So overall, it definitely is worth the $8 price tag for sure, and I gave this one 4 stars. I thought it was a solid read, and looking forward to hearing everyone's thoughts on this. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to like my Facebook page. Also, description below, there are links for my comic book, Like Father, Like Daughter. And don't forget to like the Facebook page of Like Father, Like Daughter. And I'll see you guys later.